When I was 14, I fell in love with tiny living. I spent the next 10 years pursuing my dream, starting with a van and eventually designing this tiny home. Since I custom built my home and I had been looking at tiny home inspo for years, I really had a good idea of what I wanted my area to look like. And for the kitchen, I knew I wanted enough counter space to do all of my meal prep and baking projects. For my countertops, I have white quartz. I knew I wanted something that was nice and bright because I do have gray cabinetry. And the cabinetry, it also continues throughout the rest of my kitchen and even my bathroom. And I really like the way it looks. And I didn't want too much of it so it wouldn't feel too small in here. I decided early on that I was not going to have a dishwasher in my setup. I made that decision so I could save kitchen storage, which meant I needed a big sink to deal with all of my dishes. Over here, I have my 3-burner induction cooktop. I've found that 3 burners is plenty for me. And underneath, I have my microwave and convection oven combo. It's a pretty nice small size, and it allows me to have enough drawers to really fit all of my dishes and pots and pans. I think you always need to get creative with storage in a tiny home, but with the kitchen, I think it's really noticeable with the gadgets that you grab every day. So for example, this is my utensil drawer. So anything that I want on a daily or weekly basis will be in here, and then anything extra is going to be in the hidden drawer. And I think this is a great solution just for utensil storage in a tiny home because you kind of get better use out of one drawer. And also just makes more sense to have your everyday items more accessible. Down here is where I have all of my Tupperware containers. And with, your pots and pans, you want to get ideally anything that can nest. That'll just save space really in any home that you're living in, but in a tiny home especially, it's pretty important. On the other side of my kitchen, I have my fridge and freezer in addition to my pantry. And I also have storage for my plates and bowls and stuff like that. Something that I enjoy about tiny living is that I am one person and it truly makes sense for me because I don't need a fridge or freezer that's any bigger than this. If it was, I would probably fill it with food that I didn't really need, and it would probably be wasteful. And the same idea with the pantry is that if you have a pantry that's a certain size, you're probably gonna fill it with stuff. So you really only need one that's small. And when I was living in my van, my pantry was like, not much bigger than a shoebox. Perhaps that means you go grocery shopping more often, but that's not a bad lifestyle. So my pantry is conveniently placed because I'm cooking right here and all of my ingredients are immediately behind me. And while we open the door, there is a large open area so I can have, tall bottles of olive oil. And I also have some small appliances like my air fryer. And then these drawers do pull out. And what's nice is that I keep all of my spices right here so I don't actually have to move my feet. If I need to grab a spice while I'm cooking, I really just have to turn around. So if you are designing a tiny home, it's helpful to have things conveniently located so it just makes your lifestyle easier. So I knew that I was going to have a staircase leading to my loft, and which meant I had the opportunity to utilize the storage area. So for each area, I decided to give it a slightly different purpose. So I have 2 drawers right here that both pull out, and I have a door right here that opens, which is kind of my primary closet space. Since I have identified as a minimalist for most of my life, I think as my style has evolved over the years, it has always been a capsule wardrobe. And I don't know exactly how many pairs of pants or pairs of shoes that I own. I probably only wear, I think 80% is actually generous. I could probably do some downsizing, and I live in a tiny home, so that's saying something. So I grew up in a traditional sized home, which had both a living room and a family room. And as you can imagine, it's not like we used both at the same time. And I feel like most living spaces in traditional sized home, they're filled with, armchairs that you never sit in and coffee tables that you don't really need. So I found that my setup here in my tiny is perfect for me. It meets my needs. I have a couch big enough for me and my dog, possibly a guest. And on the side, I have my coffee table. In addition to the TV, they're not front and center because I'm not using them all the time. I can pull either of them out when I need. The coffee table also doubles as my dining room setup. The top of it actually lifts up so I can enjoy a meal and then set it aside when I'm not using it. It's really special living in a space that you've designed yourself because it's perfectly curated to your lifestyle and your needs. But I do feel that the space can evolve with you. For example, in my living room setup, it's really bare bones. I just have a couch and a few furniture pieces because I wasn't sure what I wanted for this area. Right now, I'm pretty happy with the setup, but I have considered making it a bit more permanent, perhaps having a fixed day bed with a bookshelf. Not sure what I'll do right now, but at the moment, it definitely works for me. When I was about 14, that's when I discovered the tiny home movement on YouTube and social media. And I was definitely hooked from the beginning. And it also evolved to me discovering van life and just people who travel full time and live minimally. When I was, I believe, 16 or 17, I decided that a tiny home was too big for me and I wanted something that could travel easier. So I started looking at vans. And I was on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace trying to find a van that was in my budget. I bought the van with essentially all the money that I had. It was actually the first car that I ever owned. And my mom and I did the conversion ourselves the summer before my senior year of high school. And after graduating, I took a solo cross-country road trip and I was able to have some adventure and obviously living minimally on the way. After traveling off and on, kind of having that lifestyle part-time, I was kind of outgrowing the space. And I decided that I wanted to take the plunge and commit to owning my own tiny home. I was around the age of 20 when I got on the wait list with a custom builder here in North Carolina. And it was almost a scary decision, but in a way it was easy because it's something I always knew I wanted. I paid my deposit, signed my contract, and after a year of waiting, I had a design and a build process that was about 6 months. And it cost me in total $100,000. And I rent a lot in a community that sits on a 30-acre nature preserve, and I pay $650 a month. I discovered the tiny home community that I'm currently in through word of mouth, and I came several times for tours to check out the area and meet the existing community members. And it's someplace that I saw myself, and I've been here for about 2 years and truly can't imagine my life any other way. It feels super right in the moment, and it's really nice knowing that I'm living the life that I always wanted to. With a lot rent of $650 a month and some bills in addition to that, like electric, Wi-Fi, etc., I am still looking at the same monthly expenses as someone else my age who's maybe living in an apartment with roommates or something like that, which means for the same amount of money, I am able to pursue a lifestyle that really resonates with me. I would say that if you're getting started on your tiny home design journey, you really know your wants and needs better than anyone else. It almost doesn't matter what everyone else does and what is popular because your home could look entirely different from someone else's. And that's what makes a custom home so special, is that they are unique. So just because something's popular, you don't need people to talk you into having this appliance rather than that one. You know your needs better than anyone. So for me, bathroom storage was even more important than kitchen storage just because I have a lot of stuff to keep over here. So for the bathroom vanity area, I wanted to make sure that all of my everyday products were accessible and within reach because if I don't see them, they don't exist. And there's a lot of stuff I grab on a daily basis. In addition to the shelves, I added a mirror medicine cabinet that just gives me some extra storage. You definitely need some creative solutions like that living in a tiny home. And my hot water heater is actually located under the sink behind all of Roxy's dog towels. It is only 6 gallons. Honestly, I know what you're thinking with a 6-gallon tank water heater. It is pretty small. It gets the job done, but if I could upgrade it, I would. In addition to maybe getting myself a dishwasher, just having more of those luxuries in a tiny area, it does make living here a little easier and just more comfortable. But believe me, I've been in this house for almost 2 years and I can say that it's enough for me. Over here, I have a combo washer dryer. So it's 2-in-1, and also the drum is pretty small, which means you would rather do a few small laundry loads throughout the week rather than a big laundry day. I wanted a combo unit so I could save space up top and have a linen closet. If it wasn't for this thing, I don't know where I would keep all of my extra towels and bed sheets and all of the toiletry products that I hoard. So that's why I have this. I opted to have a very small shower in my tiny home. I didn't want to dedicate the space to a tub or even a large shower. I just knew that I needed enough space to get the job done. So that's what we have here. In addition to shower storage, I only needed a little shelf to put, a few bottles of what I use. Having this small shower in addition to my smaller toilet, it means I'm able to really make the most out of my tiny bathroom area. My toilet, it's a macerating toilet, which I had never heard of one until I had one in my own house. It works similar to a garbage disposal, and the appeal is that it's tankless, which means when you press the button to flush, water comes in through a hose and it goes out the back. Because it's tankless, it saves a bit of space. I've had a fairly good experience with it. Daily use, it's fine, but a non-traditional toilet means it has non-traditional problems. So, troubleshooting something like that, a normal plumber sometimes can't help you. But I think because I want to save space in this area, it's definitely the best decision for me. I think overall, I'm very happy with my bathroom layout, and I think it's a really efficient use of the space that I have. But if I were to redo my tiny home or live in a new one day, I probably would dedicate a bit more space to the bathroom, just because it's a place I spend a lot of time in, with my getting ready routine, that I probably would want more area to get that done, and also have enough room for, traditional appliances like toilets. So right up the stairs, I have my loft. I don't have much up here because I really just use this area for sleeping, and I have enough room for my queen size mattress in addition to area on the end and the side. Another thing I knew I didn't want in my tiny home was a ladder. It's not for me. I couldn't see myself using a ladder every day to get up and down from my loft, so I did opt for a staircase up to the loft. But I will say, being in a tiny home, it's not your average staircase, and you do still have to literally crawl out of bed, go down the stairs in the middle of the night when you have to go to the restroom. So I understand that it's not the easiest thing to live with. I do think a staircase, it makes living here far more comfortable compared to a ladder. But I do recognize that sleeping up here every night probably isn't for everyone. For my current tiny home layout, I knew that I wanted my bed up in the loft and out of the way. But in the future, if I had the ability, I would probably have a bedroom on the main floor so I wouldn't have to deal with climbing up the stairs every day. It was no question in my mind that I would enjoy living in this tiny home, especially since I custom built it to my needs. But something I didn't exactly anticipate was how much value I would receive from living in a tiny home community. And I'm surrounded by like-minded individuals that prioritize intentional living. And it's a really supportive place to live, especially at my age when it's common for my peers to not know the names of their neighbors. But for me, I know the names of their pets and everything. We are really close. And I think this community is really important to me. And my tiny home experience wouldn't be complete without Cranmore Meadows. Thanks for watching, and if you want to keep updated with my tiny home journey or any of my adventures, I'm exploring with Drew on TikTok and Instagram.